Dale Murphy hit 398 home runs in his career, too shy of the number that guarantees a place in baseball history. He won back-to-back Most Valuable Player awards before turning 30. Then, on a quiet afternoon in Denver in May of 1993, he walked into a press room and simply stopped, not because of an injury, not because a team released him. What happened between those two facts involves a broken throwing arm, a promise made to a 6-year-old girl, and an argument about character that baseball still has not settled. Dale Murphy was born into a family with no particular sporting tradition. At age 10, he joined a Little League team. His first season did not produce a single home run. It produced exactly one hit in the entire season. Most families would have quietly steered their son towards something else. The Murphy family did not. They kept showing up at the field. They kept driving him to practice. By his senior year at Woodrow Wilson High School in Portland, Murphy stood 6 feet 4 inches tall, carried a batting average of .465, and threw with an arm that scouts described as one of the best they had ever measured at that level. His coach, a family friend named Jack Dunn, believed in him before almost anyone else did. There is a strange detail here. Decades earlier, another man named Jack Dunn had discovered a teenage pitcher in Baltimore and turned him into the biggest star the sport had ever produced. That pitcher's name was Babe Ruth. Murphy's Jack Dunn had no connection to the first one. Even so, the coincidence followed him for the rest of his career. Arizona State University offered Murphy a scholarship, and he signed the letter of intent. Then, in June of 1974, the Atlanta Braves selected him 5th overall in the draft. Murphy walked away from college baseball and signed with Atlanta. He was only 18 years old, and he had no idea that the hardest part of his journey had not even begun. Murphy was drafted as a catcher, and for a while, that arm scouts had raved about looked like it would carry him straight to the majors. Then, without warning, it betrayed him. Sometime around 1976, Murphy developed what baseball people still call, half-jokingly, the yips. His throws back to the pitcher's mound stopped going where he aimed them. They bounced short, they sailed wide, landing anywhere but the intended target. One night, he hit his own pitcher directly in the back while trying to throw out a runner attempting to steal second base. There was nothing wrong with his arm strength. Scouts had clocked it as one of the best they had ever seen. The problem lived somewhere else entirely, and no amount of repetition seemed able to reach it. He was sent back down to the minor leagues, ostensibly to fix a mechanical flaw. The flaw was not in his mechanics. "It's got to be in my head and not physical," Murphy told reporters at the time. "It's been discouraging, but something I've got to forget." While all of this was happening, something else was shifting inside him. In 1975, playing for a minor league team in Greenwood, South Carolina, Murphy struck up a friendship with a teammate named Barry Bonnell. Bonnell spent long bus rides reading scripture by flashlight. Murphy, raised Presbyterian, started asking questions. The answers led him somewhere he had not expected. Murphy converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and Bonnell personally baptized him the day after the 1975 season ended. It was not a quiet, private decision. It reshaped how Murphy lived in front of cameras and teammates for the rest of his career. It nearly ended his career before it truly began, too. Within a year of his conversion, Murphy wanted to pause baseball entirely and serve a 2-year religious mission, the kind expected of many young men in his faith. Braves owner Ted Turner was, by every account, alarmed. Turner personally telephoned Murphy's father to ask what was happening with his son. Church leaders eventually convinced Murphy of something else, that staying on the field in front of a growing national television audience could itself be a form of service. "I decided it was best to stay in baseball," Murphy said. "By so doing, I would be able to reach a lot of young people." He stayed. The throwing problem did not disappear overnight. But the crisis had clarified something about who Murphy intended to be, on the field and off it, long before anyone outside Atlanta knew his name. Between 1976 and 1980, Murphy played 4 different positions: catcher, first base, left field, right field. At first base alone, he led the entire league in errors one season, finishing with 20. The Braves were running out of ideas. Then a young, first-year manager named Bobby Cox made a decision that would define the rest of Murphy's career. He moved him to center field. It worked almost immediately. Murphy's throwing problems, so severe behind the plate, simply vanished in the outfield. His speed, his instincts, and that same powerful arm that once betrayed him now turned into a defensive weapon. He would eventually win 5 consecutive Gold Glove awards patrolling that same patch of grass. Off the field, Murphy's life was changing just as quickly. While briefly enrolled at Brigham Young University in the off-season, he met a cheerleader named Nancy Thomas. When Murphy underwent knee surgery in the spring of 1979, Nancy flew from Utah to Atlanta to be with him during his recovery. They were engaged 2 months later and married that October at Temple Square in Salt Lake City. 1980 became Murphy's breakout season. He hit 33 home runs, drove in 89 runs, and earned his first selection to the All-Star game. For the first time, opposing pitchers started to notice they were facing someone dangerous. Manager Joe Torre, who took over the Braves in 1982, later described exactly what he did with his emerging star. "I told him not to pull the ball, just to hit it," Torre said. Dale was not a home run hitter, but a good hitter who happened to hit home runs. The pieces were finally in place. What came next would turn Murphy from a promising outfielder into the most feared hitter in the entire National League. 1982 began with a run nobody saw coming. The Atlanta Braves won their first 13 games of the season, a modern-era record at the time. Murphy contributed 4 home runs during that streak, including 1 hit off the legendary Nolan Ryan on April the 11th. By the end of the season, Murphy had played all 162 games, hit 36 home runs, and led the National League with 109 runs batted in. The Braves won the National League West, their first division title in 13 years. They were swept by the St. Louis Cardinals in the championship series, but the damage to Murphy's reputation, if anything, moved in the opposite direction. He was named the National League's most valuable player. "Most valuable player," Murphy said afterward, sounding almost embarrassed. "I haven't felt that way. The only word I can think of is overwhelming." 1983. Murphy hit 36 home runs again, led the league with 121 runs batted in, and posted a batting average of .302. He stole 30 bases that same season, becoming only the second player in Atlanta Braves history after Hank Aaron to reach 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases in a single year. He won the Most Valuable Player award again. At 27 years old, Murphy had become the youngest player in history to win the honor 2 years running. The country was watching, whether it realized it or not. The Braves were owned by media executive Ted Turner, whose national cable channel beamed Atlanta games into households across the entire country every single night. Sports Illustrated put Murphy on its cover that July with a headline that would follow him for the rest of his life. "Murphy's Law is nice guys finish first." Opposing players and executives struggled to find new ways to praise him. "He's the best all-around player in either league," said Hank Aaron, the man who had once held the career home run record himself, probably the most valuable player in baseball right now. Manager Joe Torre offered what might be the most complete description anyone ever gave of Murphy. "If you're a coach, you want him as a player," Torre said. "If you're a father, you want him as a son. If you're a woman, you want him as a husband. If you're a kid, you want him as a father. What else can you say about the guy?" Even opposing managers ran out of ways to describe what they were watching. During a hot streak that June, Cincinnati manager Russ Nixon was asked about Murphy's numbers. "He's scary," Nixon said. "Do they have something above Most Valuable Player?" Nothing, at that moment, seemed capable of slowing him down. On June the 12th, 1983, before a home game against the San Francisco Giants, Murphy walked through the tunnel underneath Atlanta Fulton County Stadium and met a 6-year-old girl named Elizabeth Smith. Months earlier, Elizabeth had stepped on a live power line. She lost both of her hands and one of her legs. Murphy gave her a cap and a team shirt. He knelt down and talked with her for a few minutes. Then her nurse asked him a question. Could he hit a home run for her? Murphy did not have a clever answer ready. "I didn't know what to say," he admitted later, "so I just sort of mumbled, 'Well, okay.'" That afternoon, in the bottom of the 3rd inning, Murphy hit a 2-run home run. He was not finished. Before the game ended, he hit a second one. The Braves won the game, 3 runs to 2. Murphy had personally driven in every single run Atlanta scored that day. No highlight reel from that afternoon survives the way the great plays of his career do. Just one ordinary regular season game, one small promise made under pressure in a concrete tunnel, and one impossible coincidence that turned it into something a family would remember for the rest of their lives. 1987 should have been Murphy's crowning achievement. The Most Valuable Player award went instead to Andre Dawson of the Chicago Cubs, a decision that statisticians still argue about decades later. Murphy did not publicly complain. That was never his style. He simply went home, worked on his swing over the winter as he always did, and reported back the following spring as though nothing unusual had happened. In 1988, his batting average collapsed to .226. In 1989, it barely improved. He was 32 years old, an age when most great players are still near their peak, and Murphy's skills were simply disappearing. His name began appearing in trade rumors, a fate that would have been unthinkable just 2 years earlier. "We really didn't play that well," Murphy said at the time, taking the blame onto himself rather than the organization around him, and probably because of the way I played. On August the 3rd, 1990, the Braves traded Murphy to the Philadelphia Phillies, ending 15 years with the only organization he had ever known professionally. Atlanta comedian Jeff Foxworthy later wrote that when he heard the news at an airport, he stood there and cried. A chronic left knee injury limited him to 18 games in 1992. Philadelphia released him before the following season even began. Murphy signed with the newly formed Colorado Rockies, hoping simply to reach 400 career home runs before he finished playing. He had 398. Over 26 games with Colorado, playing through visible physical decline, Murphy could not find the 2 home runs he needed. On May the 27th, 1993, in Denver, he walked into a press conference and announced his retirement, effective immediately. "I should have done it," Murphy said later, about the 400 home runs he never reached. "I had plenty of pitches and plenty of opportunities. I didn't do it. I'm thankful to be able to be around and hit the ones that I did." 398 home runs, too short of the number that would have guaranteed his place in baseball's collective memory forever. Murphy became eligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1999. His timing could not have been worse. Baseball was entering what would later become known as its steroid era, a period when performance-enhancing drugs quietly reshaped what a great offensive season even looked like. Murphy's career total of 398 home runs, extraordinary in its own era, suddenly sat beside inflated numbers being posted by players using chemical assistants that Murphy, by every account, never touched. For 15 consecutive years, Murphy's name appeared on the official ballot. His highest vote total, in the year 2000, reached only 23.2%. The threshold for induction is 75%. He was placed on special committee ballots designed to reconsider players from his exact era. In December of 2017, he received 7 of 16 possible votes. In December of 2019, he received fewer than that. Then, in December of 2025, Murphy appeared on the contemporary baseball era ballot one more time. He received 6 votes out of the 12 needed for induction. Jeff Kent was elected that year instead. Murphy once again was not. Baseball's own official rules state that character, integrity, and sportsmanship should factor into Hall of Fame voting alongside a player's record on the field. Few players in the sport's history have ever met that standard as visibly, or as consistently, as Murphy did, in front of national television cameras for an entire decade. And yet the raw numbers alone have never been quite enough. His career batting average of .265 and his career total of 398 home runs, viewed purely as statistics, place him in genuinely borderline territory. His prime, from 1982 through 1987, ranks among the finest 6-year stretches of the entire decade. But his decline afterward was so steep, so sudden, that it left him without the long, gradual tail of good seasons that most Hall of Famers accumulate on their way out. The argument over Dale Murphy is now stretched across 4 decades, longer than his playing career itself lasted. Was he a genuinely great player who happened to fall short? Or was he something rarer, a man whose decency was so complete that people simply assumed the trophy would follow and were disappointed to learn that trophies do not actually work that way? Baseball still has not answered that question. Murphy, by most accounts, stopped waiting for an answer a long time ago. 398 home runs. That is where this story started, and it is worth returning to now. For years, that number looked like an unfinished sentence. Spend enough time with Murphy's story, though, and the missing 2 home runs start to feel like the least important detail in it. The real story is a boy who managed exactly 1 hit in his first season of organized baseball and refused to quit. A catcher whose throwing arm betrayed him so completely that he nearly walked away from the sport entirely before deciding that staying might matter more than leaving. A superstar who kept a half-serious promise to a 6-year-old girl he had just met in a stadium tunnel on an ordinary afternoon. And a man who, when his skills finally failed him, chose to walk away on his own terms rather than wait to be pushed. Murphy never got his plaque in Cooperstown. Maybe he never will. But somewhere between one lonely single and a Denver press room, Murphy built something that outlasted every statistic attached to his name, a reputation that opposing players, rival managers, and total strangers all reached for the same words to describe. Baseball measures greatness in home runs, batting averages, and trophies. By every one of those measures, Murphy fell just short. By nearly every other measure that matters, he never did. If you believe Dale Murphy belongs in the Hall of Fame, say so in the comments below. Share this video with anyone who grew up watching baseball on Ted Turner's national cable channel. And if you want to meet another ball player whose character outweighed his statistics, there is a video waiting for you right now.